What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Morphinominal, your stop for your Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider news and reviews right here on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for certainly joining me once again. As always, it is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez, kicking off your weekend the correct way, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be getting into a ton of topics today, along with some reviews as well. Of course, we've got our Beast Morphers. I guess this is technically the special episode. So what, episode 22, Making Bad, that we wind up airing this weekend. We'll go ahead and certainly talk about that. We've got some news in regards to the farewell of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when it comes to Boom Studios. We'll do a little bit of a preview there as well. And of course, your guys' live viewer questions. So thank you very much for everybody kicking off your weekend right, joining us here. I hope you guys have had a fantastic weekend so far. So hopefully the Beast Morphers episode certainly did right by you guys this week. Listen, towards the end of this episode, guys, we are going to be diving into your live viewer questions. If you have a particular question that you certainly would like to ask, whether it be from the television shows, from the movies, from some of the news articles that you've heard this weekend that you want to go ahead and talk further about, go ahead and submit your questions and your topics to us at aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. That's right, aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. Go ahead and submit your live viewer questions, and we'll certainly get to them at the end of this particular week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for everybody's participation. Speaking of participation, who's in our live chat today? Let's see who we got in here. We got Noah Cummings certainly coming through. What's up, Noah? We got JB says what, certainly in the house today. Power Rangers in your area, you guys probably will remember him as Forever Grin, also known as Alec. What's going on, Alec? Good to certainly see you here. Man, I dropped my phone, guys. Good thing I've got one of those protectors, you know what I'm saying? So breaking my phone. Shadow Nova, what's up, man? Good to see you in here as well. We've got AJ in the house as I love bacon and sushi. Don't we all, though? Don't we all? Doomsday's up in here as well. Hey, we got Stuart. What's up, Stuart? Thanks for joining us, man. The man in charge of our Kamen Rider Saber reviews. Give it up for Turbo Studios in here. Johnny Marrero certainly in the house also. Oh, a brand new name has joined us today, guys. Goku2241. What's up, Goku? Hope you're enjoying the show so far. Thank you very much for certainly joining us. Guys, we're going to be getting into a ton of stuff and topics today. But before we do, if you guys want to follow us on social media, please go ahead and do so. You can do so right here at the bottom at A+ Opinions on our Facebook page, which is our main hub, Twitter, Instagram, and our Twitch page for you gamers also. Real quick thing of business too, for those of you who don't know, when it comes to our channel A+ More Phenomenal, we did just restart doing reaction videos. Now, for those of you who were not following us prior to our previous YouTube page in A+ Opinions, we were working on doing a review for the Go Busters seasons. We thought it would be pretty neat to kind of just do Go Busters and Beast Morphers all at the same time, kind of compare and contrast. Our Go Buster reviews have had certainly some up and downs. We've gone from reviews for Go Busters to changing it into reactions for Go Busters to then having copyright issues with Toei. But now we have in fact brought back our reaction videos, guys. That's right. If you've been waiting for our Go Busters to return, they certainly have. They are back on our YouTube page. We had to start off with episode number 39. That's where we left off at, so we just went ahead and jumped back into it. So Go Busters episode 39 reaction is certainly on there. There is a link to watch the episode along with us, along with a timestamp for you to certainly follow along as well. So our Go Busters reactions will be up, guys. We're going to be doing 2 a week going forward. And then once we're done and wrapped up with Go Busters, we're going to be moving on to a previous Super Sentai season as well. So it should be fun to go ahead and embark on some of these older Super Sentai series journeys. I think the next Super Sentai series that we're going to be doing reaction for is going to be Go Kaiger. So again, we've got about maybe 8 to 10 episodes of Go Busters left, and then we're transitioning over to Go Kaiger. So trust me, guys, when I say there's plenty more content that's certainly coming. We still have a watch along that we're going to be providing for you guys on a weekly basis, probably going through like 4 to 5 episodes at a time. Those will most likely be live as well. So we got a ton of stuff that's certainly brewing here at APlus Morphinominal. So if you haven't subscribed yet, guys, please do yourselves a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're not asking you to leave other YouTubers. We're just asking you to, if you want more content of some of the fandoms that you love, this is just an additional home for you. So hit that subscribe button, guys, along with that bell notification, so that when we do drop brand new videos, you're definitely going to go ahead and be notified. So definitely look forward to that. But guys, it's news time. You guys ready to get into some of the news and reviews? Let's go ahead and kick off this week's episode with our Beast Morphers review. That's right. We had our second season, second special episode. The first one that we wind up having was sort of the first half of the season. They wind up actually giving us, it was the Pan Games, if I'm not mistaken, in order to pretty much, I think, because this year we were supposed to have the Olympics, weren't we? So I believe that's why we wind up getting that particular special episode. So this is our second one. We're so used to getting Halloween and Christmas episodes that it is a nice little change of pace, a nice little breather to see them utilize these episodes a little bit differently. While I appreciate the attempt at the Olympics game when it comes to the Pan Games episode, still wasn't the biggest fan of it. Unfortunately, I was a big fan of the wrestling, though, mind you, but the rest of the episode wasn't the biggest fan. So for me coming into this special episode, I was kind of wondering how this is all going to fit, right? Like, is this an episode that, while technically titled episode number 22, if I'm not mistaken, is this something that they recorded like towards the end of the season and was like, you know what, maybe we should have a little bit more filler to maybe fill in some of these gaps, since we are doing this like it seems as though we're doing this build up to this Dino crossover. It makes me wonder, like, did they film the season, look at their season as like, you know what, we probably should put one more episode in there to kind of branch, you know, this little gap sort of thing, maybe do some fill in here. I'm not quite sure, whatever the case may be, but make no mistake, this was a clip show with like minor buildup. And while there are certainly aspects to this episode that I was a fan of, don't get me wrong, and we'll definitely talk about those, this kind of, I don't want to say hampered my enthusiasm for the Dino crossover, but you know, when you're doing such a great job of building up to the Dino crossover, I don't see why we needed this episode, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like a lot of this stuff that they gave us in this episode could have just been provided to us in, say, an extended episode of a Dino crossover. Like maybe 10 minutes of this, if not maybe 5 minutes of this episode, probably could have been utilized as like a beginning aspect to our Dino crossover and giving us an extended length episode. But I'm looking at this episode thinking to myself, why did we spend 20 something minutes of this when I don't think that we certainly needed it? Like, for me, I had the momentum that was building, right? From the return from Evox Snare, you grabbed me, right? With the RPM and Dr. K crossover stuff. We had the Captain Chaku, the 2-part event where we wind up getting more of the PR vault and more of the Ryjack sort of weapons that he wind up having. We even got Keeper, right? Like, we're getting this momentum and things like that, and all of a sudden it's like, clip show, guys, clip show. And again, while I do think that there are elements to this clip show that was meant to build up, I still feel as though you could have used that same build up from this episode, really put it into 5 to 10 minutes and just added it to the Dino crossover episode. Personally, like, maybe that's just me, because the idea of sitting down and literally watching a recap show that's watching a recap show, guys, it was the weirdest thing. Like, I'm literally watching my television that's watching another TV playing clips. Like, the clip didn't even take up the entire episode or the entire screen for me to watch. No, I'm watching Evox and scripts. I mean, I personally don't get it. A clip show within a clip show. And one of those things another thing that kind of aggravated me a little bit about this week's episode was the fact that we're picking villains. I get the idea of like, hey, we want to go ahead and pick villains to go ahead and fight the Power Rangers, right? We're getting ready for this big Dino crossover. I personally think the more enemies you can utilize, the better. But as they start picking out some of these old Ranger villains, right? Korag from Mystic Force, Astronema was certainly brought up, Psycho Red and things like that. It's just odd to me that, first off, it's odd to me that they correct each other all the time. Like, don't be such an idiot. Don't you know that this person turned good or this person turned good? But anytime they went ahead and picked somebody, it's like they almost didn't understand their character's history also. Like, don't you remember this person did this too? Like, why would you suggest that when you literally just belittled somebody for picking somebody who just turned into a good guy, right? So clearly they don't know certainly their history. But I will say the benefit to this was to see the return of Goldar. It's certainly something that I was really hoping to see. Again, the fact that Goldar literally had just a couple of minutes, you're trying to tell me you could not shrink this entire episode story into 5-10 minutes for an extended episode of Dino Crossover. Like, it just felt like the road to get to Goldar was a little bit unnecessary for me. Like, don't get me wrong, it was great for nostalgia. It was great for, clips from the previous days, but I don't understand the point of how all that certainly fit into the idea when you weren't going to use any of these characters in the first place, right? So we wind up creating Goldar. Goldar's back, more powerful. I think Scrozzle's plan this week was to go ahead and not only use the reanimizer that he wind up getting from Ryjack, but also utilizing gemstones, aka diamonds in this case, to power up his reanimizer so that he can power up his one last villain that he can reanimate. Like, for me, my question would be, I get the idea that all these villains eventually turned good, right? But you're reanimating objects of them when they were evil. If you're just using them for evil purposes, couldn't you have brought back Astronema? Couldn't you have brought back Korag, because they would technically have been their evil versions of themselves? I don't think you're going to bring them back and they're going to be like, yes, kill those Power Rangers. Wait a minute, wasn't I a good guy? And then all of a sudden turn their backs on Evox and stuff. I don't think it necessarily works that way. But that's how they were certainly treating it. Like, all of a sudden these enemies weren't good enough anymore because of the fact that some of them turned good in their past. But now we've got Goldar here, where again you're about to go up against the Power Rangers. Maybe they just have no idea that Dino Charge and Dino Thunder is about to team up with them. But wouldn't you want like all hands on deck? So to kind of see Goldar take out Sledge in here, to see the Rangers take out the rest of the Dino Charge enemies, I guess that's the end of them, right? Like, I guess they're not coming back anymore. But I'm scratching my head here, thinking to myself, like, wouldn't I want them still around to kind of certainly help me out in this case? Like, one powered up and souped up Goldar probably may not be enough in this case, but that's where this episode led us to. So while I wasn't the biggest fan of the buildup, because it honestly felt like it was a little bit of a waste of time, I do appreciate the return of Goldar, and even him just kicking the hell out of Sledge. I thought he was like, it's one of those things where I feel like Goldar's rebuttal, or I should say like his pushback to being kicked in the back, is something that like these new enemies of the Power Rangers just aren't even ready for. Like, these new enemies are such babies compared to some of these OG Rangers that were just, or OG villains that were just ruthless and just didn't give an F. You know what I'm saying? So Sledge thinks he can just go around and kicking anybody. Goldar's like, you forgot I'm an OG here? And he like just puts him on his ass, sort of thing. So I love the fact that Goldar immediately comes out of the gate swinging, immediately shows his ruthlessness, and he's powered up also. So should be fun to kind of see a returning Goldar in the Dino Crossover next week. So I definitely was looking forward to it. But again, this is just a classic case of Power Rangers having great momentum and then stalling their own particular momentum before their big episode this week. I personally just don't get it. What else wound up happening in here? Shout out to Ravi for doing his best Sherlock Holmes impression. I don't know who his Watson was. Probably Jacqueline was probably his, or I should say Zoe was more or less his Watson in this week's episode, doing his best detective work, trying to figure out what Scrozzle and Evox certainly were up to with all the gem stealing and the diamond stealing, getting our Rangers at least set up and ready to go ahead and ambush Poisandra and the rest of her crew and things like that. So there were some fun aspects to this week's episode, but not enough for me to be like on board with it like I was the past couple of episodes. This definitely was. Again, I appreciate the moments that we certainly had But at the end of the day, definitely did stall my momentum a little bit, because I really felt like they could have put 5 minutes of this at the beginning of the Dino crossover and explained the episode even better than getting an entire episode of just me watching a clip show, watching a clip show. You know what I mean? It was just weird this week. It was just weird this week. Trying to think what else. Oh, honorable mention goes out to Steel too. He's still hinting at the idea of like, hey, bro, when you gonna give me human parts and stuff. He's starting to remind me more, like, if you guys are WWE fans, if you watch wrestling, he reminds me of Matt Riddle so much. Hey, bro. Like, I feel like when Steel comes into the room and like Matt Riddle's theme song should just start kicking on the way that he talks to everybody. But like Steel's terrible joke at the end when Devin's like, yeah, I got to go ahead and start prepping for some video game tournaments and things like that. Who wants me to kick their butt? And Steel's like, well, if you kick my butt, like, do we have to explain the joke? Like, I'm sorry, guys. This episode was all over the place for me. I just wasn't the biggest fan of this special episode. The writing wasn't there at all times. The terrible jokes weren't there at all times. But again, the return of Goldar was great. Seeing Detective Ravi was great, honestly. And I'll even say, dang, I had one more thing on the top of my head. I'll even say the idea of making this episode, or I should say the storyline for the season so far, really being the Rangers. I don't want to say Evox being one step ahead of the Rangers, but seeing the Rangers trying to figure out what Scrozzle and Evox are certainly up to, right? I feel like our Rangers have been left kind of scratching their heads as to the master plan of what Evox is. Like, yes, they did defeat Evox to get Mayor Daniels back, right? But, trying to figure out how they're utilizing the reanimizer, how they're utilizing the diamonds, what I'm assuming, if anything, the secrets that Keeper wind up having, I'm assuming, is the Power Rangers data chip that maybe Scrolls will wind up having, that they were going through all the files. Like, maybe that's one of the things that they wind up gathering up from Keeper. The Power Rangers certainly have no idea that they even have that in their possession, sort of thing. So there is a fun element to seeing the Power Rangers trying to figure things out, knowing that there's a bigger plan of Evox, but not quite sure how to put their finger on it, if you will. And for me, it'll be a little bit fun to kind of see how the Power Rangers catch up to what Evox is doing, or how they certainly find out what their overall master plan has been this whole entire time. So for me, I'm eager to see how the Beast Morphers truly handle everything that we have going on. But other than that, I thought it was great. I thought the action sequences in here were handled really well, especially with Poisandra's crew. Again, the return of Goldar I thought was pretty brilliant, and Ravi's detective work. But outside of that, just wasn't a fan of this episode. I just felt it was another underutilized episode. I just feel like you could have, even if it was a clip show, if you will, I felt like it probably could have been utilized just a little bit better. I mean, I'm thankful that it wasn't an entire clip show. For that, I am certainly grateful, but I do think that there is another way of better handling some of these clips. And also, if there is another complaint, I have to throw this out, guys. I'm sorry. Another complaint about this episode: who did Lord Zed's voiceover work, man? Just absolutely terrible. Like, whoever hired that guy to do the voiceover work, clearly Lord Zed is not that person's strength. Like, I'm pretty sure that there are fans that could probably do better Lord Zed impressions than whoever it was. Now, listen, I love me some Campbell Cooley. I know he certainly has come back and done some of the voices, I believe for Snide, if I'm not mistaken. So it's great to see Campbell Cooley getting his shine. I don't know who did the work for Lord Zed, but I wasn't a fan of it. Like, I honestly thought, like, if they're using that stock footage, if they're using past footage from a lot of their series, I'm surprised they didn't just utilize that video and audio, unless maybe something terrible happened with the audio. Maybe it's not as clear or crisp as it certainly was. I'm not sure, but it was fascinating that they didn't utilize their own properties, past material for some of the Lord Zed stuff, because Lord Zed just sounded atrocious. He did not sound frightening in the least bit to me, like like back in the day, at all. So not the biggest fan of whoever did the voiceover work for Lord Zed. I honestly feel like they could have easily have found another voice actor, or even gotten a freaking fan to come in here and do a better job than what they did in this episode. But overall, guys, I'm sorry if you were fans of this episode. Listen, if you were fans of this episode, I'm not trying to crap on your fun time with this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, more power to you. I hope that you certainly did, right? Like, my point in coming here isn't to just bash this episode and make you guys hate it. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. If anything, I'm just trying to give you guys my opinion, and maybe you didn't like the episode and my opinions just strengthen that for you, or maybe my opinions even strengthen the fact that why you like this episode to begin with. So if you did enjoy this episode, I'm really glad that you did, guys. But for me, unfortunately, just wasn't my bag of tea this week. So I'm hoping I can continue to keep that momentum for Dino Crossover. Listen, I'm going to go into it super pumped for Grid Connection regardless. I just feel momentum-wise, this was a real hindrance, I felt like, for some people's momentums, and could have been utilized completely differently, honestly. So we'll see what happens next week, guys. But regardless, we definitely will be back to talk Grid Connection, aka the Dino Crossover event, next week for you guys. So certainly stay tuned for us next week with a brand new episode review. But ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on this special episode number 22 of Power Rangers Beast Morphers. What are your thoughts? These are just my A+ opinions. At the end of the day, I definitely want to know yours, though. So please let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. With that, let me see who else has wind up joining us today. Because the one thing I am learning about this StreamYard, when I'm streaming on it, it does tend to remove some of the comments and stuff that come before. Like, if I don't catch the comments in time, sometimes they'll erase if the comment section starts getting too big. But who else joins us? Video DVDs in the house. What's up, Video? Appreciate you stopping by today. We've got Edward Sanchez Productions in the house also. So thank you very much. Jaden Groves is back once again. Thank you very much, Jaden. I really appreciate you stopping by today. Let's see here. Johnny Marrero, he says, honestly, Making Bad was a way better special than the holiday special all put together. And I love this special too because it's connected to the crossover. And I'm sure it is connected to the crossover. There definitely are pieces there. You know, for me, I'm not going to lie, when I watched this episode and I saw them messing around with the gemstones and the diamonds, for some reason I thought Caramasia for a second. Like, are they hinting that maybe if they stick around with the Toei stuff, maybe Hasbro will adapt Caramasia at some point? I'm like, maybe this is them hinting at that, right? But maybe that's just me looking into it, to be quite honest with you. But I'm glad that you enjoyed the episode, Johnny. Yeah, the connections to the crossover certainly are there. The return of Goldar, I thought, was really great to see, honestly. I didn't think we needed all that buildup to have him come back for that brief, like, 5 minutes at the end. But I definitely appreciate the connections that it definitely does have towards the upcoming crossover. But, you know, I will say this. Like, I feel like, you know, if you have to compare Johnny to some of the other specials that we've had in regards to, like, the holiday episodes, yeah, I probably would give it the benefit of the doubt of being a little bit better than those. But I'll even say the Halloween special that we got from season 1 of Beast Morphers, for me, is still my favorite special that we've gotten, if I'm not mistaken. There's something about that Zoe Viking that I always loved, honestly. Jaden says, by the way, this episode is written by James Collin, Cameron Dixon, and Maya Thompson. Again, not the biggest fan of this episode, so maybe those writers will do a little bit better. I honestly thought it was like, immediately thought it was like Becca and Alwyn. So that's what I get for just assuming, though, right? I made an ass out of myself, so. Bacon and Sushi says, I'm glad this wasn't a Halloween or Christmas recap episode. I love seeing all the old footage from the legacy seasons. Yeah, I mean, my thing is, I don't mind seeing the old footage if it's going to amount to something, and they just didn't amount to something. It just, like, at least I don't think it amounted to anything, at least not yet, right? Like, if we come back in Dino Crossover and we see all these characters return, I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense, right? Because my biggest complaint out of this episode was the idea of, like, well, you're reanimating objects of theirs of when they were bad. So if you're reanimating them, they're not going to come out as good people, guys. You're okay to go ahead and do that. So maybe that's something that they decide to do in the Dino Crossover event, to kind of go back to the well, if you will. But according to Scrazzo, he only had power for one more thing to reanimate, and he decided on Goldar. So whether or not these characters come back for the Dino Crossover, unfortunately, I'm not sure. But it just felt weird to me. Like, it just felt weird to see old footage of something that's not going to pay off for us, at least in this particular episode. Whether or not the payoff comes next week, who certainly knows? But it felt odd to me. It felt odd to me. And yes, the episode was directed by Simon Bennett. I didn't have a problem with the direction. I thought the direction was handled pretty well as far as like being able to get like the best out of your characters. Again, I really love the civilian stuff with Ravi and Nate and them trying to figure out what's going on. So there are definitely some aspects of the directing I was a big fan of. For me, I felt like it was just the writing this week. Doomsday does say, although the voice of past villains were terrible, they really were. I love the non-holiday special. Well, I'm glad that you did too, Doomsday. I'm really glad. Blossom, what's up? Glad to see you in the house today, Blossom. Thank you very much. JB says, what says, I was on the fence about this episode, but once I rewatched it to take notes, I was okay with it. Yeah, I watched it at least two times. Honestly, JB says what? For me, I guess it was just a little bit more okay the second time around, but I'm glad that you found something in this episode for you to certainly enjoy for sure. Mike Knight Hero, what's up, Mike? He says, "Man, that vault got me love. See all morphers and weapons." Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Mike Knight. When I got the opportunity to see that PR vault, which I had no idea that was just chilling in Grid Battle Force for all season one, so I'm glad that they opened up the door to this particular vault in season two. It was great to kind of just see all the connections that they certainly had to the past seasons. AJ, he winds up saying over from Facebook, he says, when I first saw Finders Keeper, technically part one, I had no idea Campbell Cooley, aka Scrozzle, voiced Snide. I thought Ryan Carter, aka Heckle, came back to play him like he did in Dino Charge season two. I thought I read somewhere that it was Cooley Campbell who wind up coming back to do the voice. Maybe I'm wrong though, but I believe that's what I heard. Johnny says it's really not a clip show. The whole plot of the episode was to choose which villain to bring back. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, but it turned into a clip show. And it wasn't, again, it wasn't even an entire clip show. My disappointment was the idea of giving me a clip show within a clip show, like me watching villains watch other villains. Like the idea that even with those to choose which villains to bring back, they didn't even bring them back is the thing, right? So we just wind up getting a footage showcase to us to fill up time as nostalgia, where it was almost felt like the overall telling of this story just wasn't there. But again, that's just me. That's just me, Johnny. That's just how I felt about it, though. Video says, I love how after the hiatus, each episode, even though it was its own central plot, has something that will play an important role in the next episode. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there, Video. I'm certainly expecting Goldar to certainly play a significant role, and maybe there are other episodes to maybe there are other elements in this episode that I didn't pick up that will be popping up at the in Dino Crossover. Jaden says, Adam, they can't do that because they have a contract with 22-minute episodes. I definitely get what you're saying there, Jaden. So then for me, my answer to that would be then just don't give me that episode, right? Like, can I get a better story told for the 22nd episode to fit in there instead of being a clip episode, right? Like if we can't eliminate this episode and just take 5 minutes and add it to those 22 minutes and get an extended episode, then just don't give me this episode. Like if you're going to give me this episode, have it formatted a little bit better so it doesn't end up being a clip show that's going to show clips that's not going to amount to anything at the end of this episode. So but that's just how I felt about it, though. Tony Robinson's in the house. What's up, Tony? I appreciate you coming through. Again, guys, this is me. I haven't watched the entire Beast Morphers season yet. I know a ton of you guys probably have. You guys probably already know what to expect and what's to come. I have no clue. I have not read anything. I have not seen anything. So again, I'm simply just making my assumptions and my opinion on the episode as to what I have seen. So if there are aspects of this episode that lead into the Dino crossover, hey, that's great. That's absolutely great. I just was not the fan of the execution for this week's episode. I just honestly felt like their time could have been utilized a little bit better. If there is anything, you know, some things that wind up jumping out at me here in this week that did make me scratch my head a little bit, making me go, one of the other things that jumped out at me was seeing Roxy grab Astronoma's glove, right? And then they go through Astronoma's history lesson and talk about her turning into Corone. And I believe Roxy says something along the lines of like, "Ooh, like I didn't know she turned good" or something like that, and like threw it back in there. I'm wondering if that's like a little nod to the idea that maybe we do get a good version of Roxy at some point in time. You know what I mean? I know we have human Roxy, but I'm just wondering about like the clone version. I'm wondering if something is gonna come out of that. Who certainly knows? Let's see. Bacon, she says, "This is the episode when I first saw this months ago. So weird not seeing any of the Rangers or the commander at all until later on. Such a breath of fresh air." Yeah, I mean, the idea of focusing on the villains, I think, was a cool aspect, giving them some shine. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Bacon and Sushi. Jaden says, "I like this episode. I'm really glad that you did, Jaden. I really am. It seems like a few of you actually did." Johnny says, Making Bad was Adam. If anything, it was better than the holiday special. Plus, it was villain focused and had some fun moments. And it's not a clip show. Villains need to choose which villains to resurrect. Listen, if you're gonna spend half the show showing clips, it's a clip show to me, Johnny. Like I get the idea. Like I get what you're saying. That maybe it's not meant to come across as a clip show, but the idea of it being part of the plot to choose a villain to resurrect, like I got to see it. Like if there's a payoff in Dino Crossover, then yeah, maybe I'll feel differently about it, right? But maybe Johnny, maybe you know something that I don't. But if I'm just watching this episode by itself, right? I certainly don't know what's to come. So when I look at it as a clip show. The fact that you're showing me past villains and spending an enormous amount of time on watching clips that are at the end of the episode aren't going to amount to anything because you just choose to bring back Goldar of all these people. I'm like, what did I sit down and watch all this for? Right. Like, again, if there is a payoff in the Dino Crossover, then I'll certainly look at this particular episode a little bit differently. But the way that it presented it to me was, hey, Robbie's our detective this week because Scrozzle and Evox have a brand new plan to get diamonds and they want to bring back some of their villains. The other half of this episode, let's just rewatch minutes of previous clips information, right? Where we're not filling it in with storyline moments. Like, so that's how I looked at this episode. Again, after I watched the entirety of this season, or maybe after I watched the Dino Crossover, I'll look at the episode a little bit differently. But as of right now, just watching it based off of what I've seen so far from the season, this is just another clip show that just wasn't utilized well enough for me. But let's see here. You know what? We're going to go ahead. Bacon and Sushi winds up giving the episode an 8 out of 10. Very nice. Anything than a holiday recap episode. Listen, you're absolutely right. Anything is better than a holiday recap episode. I absolutely agree with you there. Mike Night Hero says, "Yeah, that was some bad voiceover, Adam. Very disrespected the Lord Zed voice actor. Yeah, and didn't that gentleman, did he pass away or is he still alive? I can't remember. Because it's one of those things where it's just like, man, you couldn't like you really couldn't bring, yeah, Robert Axelrod, like you couldn't bring in somebody else to do it just a little bit more justice than that for Robert. You know what I mean? So I think that maybe that's another reason why it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, honestly. Yes, and Jane does pull it up that yes, that the original lords that died, unfortunately. But trust me when I say that there are a ton of voice actors out there that can do a much better job than that. Trust me, trust me on that. Okay. Turbo Studio says, from what I heard, the reason they had to dub over clips was because they no longer have the licensing for the background music used in those episodes. Okay, that can That I can understand, Stuart. So thank you very much for clarifying that, because yes, background music definitely is a copyright and licensing issue also. And if there's voiceovers over that music, then yeah, unfortunately they can't utilize it. But man, I honestly would have thought that the redubbed voiceovers, they probably would have. I honestly was hoping they would have put a little bit more effort into it than what they did. So honestly, a little bit disappointed, but I'm glad that you brought that up to kind of further explain that. But yeah, a little bit more effort, guys, next time for the voiceover work, please, especially when it comes to these legendary villains. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then we got Video who says the same thing that you just did, Stuart. So thank you very much for clarifying that for me, guys. I appreciate that. All right, you know what, guys, I'll jump back into the live chat with you guys here in a second. But we do want to go ahead and continue along with some of our topics for the week. We don't have too many, ladies and gentlemen, but we do have some. This one will go by rather quickly, to be honest with you. But because since we are talking about Beast Morphers, to say the least, if you have been keeping up with Beast Morphers, or if you want to just go back and rewatch some of the episodes, now you certainly can. It does show here. This is coming to us from the Illuminati, and we've heard this before, but this is confirmation that it now has officially happened. But this is from the Illuminati, letting us know that Netflix has officially released Power Rangers Beast Morphers Season 2 episodes, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Beast Morphers Season 2 episodes are now available on Netflix. It says the second season of Power Rangers Beast Morphers has hit Netflix with the first 9 episodes now available. The episode became available today and have been a long awaited debut for some fans of the show. We will be able to see more of the great cast of Beast Morphers as more of the story winds up unfolding. It does say the story continues on as Evox was thought to be destroyed during the final fight with the cyber dimension. However, the Rangers soon learned the secret that Evox managed to survive and now threatens the morphing grid once again. The Rangers must now protect the city and the world against new and old foes, along with their new weapons, new powers, and new Zords. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, Beast Morphers Season 2, the first 9 episodes are now officially on Netflix. So if you want to go ahead and go back and revisit, feel free to go ahead and do so. Yeah, I've definitely have gone through the first season of Beast Morphers several times already because it is on Netflix. I feel like it's such an easy view, and I feel like you can look down, push play, and then look up again, and you're like 4 or 5 episodes in. Like, holy crap, I'm still going with this. Like, for me, it's such an easy season to go through, honestly. So it's always great to go back and revisit these seasons. So now that we've got all of season 1 and the first half of season 2 available, definitely go ahead and check those out whenever you get a chance on Netflix. A part of me kind of a part of me always wishes that these seasons become available before the show actually even returns. Like that's how I've always felt to get the most out of promoting your show, you know what I mean, as far as marketing goes. If you want to build up sort of anticipation for a show's return, I've always thought it was brilliant to have either a marathon or have these episodes available that you might have missed the first half now available before you even get into the second half of season 2. So it does leave me kind of scratching my head a little bit as to why it's not released that way. Like if you look at CW and some of their shows, usually like that first week after their shows have officially wrapped on CW, boom, they're like right there over on Netflix or maybe now HBO Max going forward. But the turnaround time is absolutely impressive. So while listen, I don't see Hasbro and Beast Morphers doing that anytime soon, as far as like, hey, our first half of the season is done, let's go ahead and throw this up on Netflix. For me, I think it would at least be a little bit more beneficial if just before the next season starts, maybe at least have the previous season completely available for everybody to certainly follow up with. Maybe there's something in the agreement or the contract that doesn't allow them to do that. So I'm sure that there's certainly a reason. I always just felt that this the releasing of a second half after the other seasons already continued has always felt a little bit backwards to me. But that's just me. Again, I haven't seen the contract, but if anything, I would just assume that that's something that they have in their contract, maybe because of the fact that they wanted to air maybe on their streaming service for a while before it goes over to Netflix. Who certainly knows, but I'm sure that there certainly is a reason. But hopefully, if Hasbro does change who they produce these shows with, if they move away from Netflix, maybe I'm not Netflix, Nickelodeon in the past or in the future, maybe something like this will certainly change going forward. But I wish these episodes were certainly available before the episodes for this second half of the season began. But regardless, guys, it is available on Netflix. Go ahead and show your support. Check out Beast Morphers on Netflix along with the rest of the Beast Morphers. Oops, what did I do there? There we go. Along with the rest of the Power Ranger library, to say the least. I definitely am going to go back and revisit a Power Rangers season. I'm just not sure what Power Rangers season to revisit. So guys, do me a favor, because we are going to be doing watch-alongs for Power Rangers. Maybe 4 to 5 episodes sort of at a time, right? Take out maybe an hour and a half, 2-hour block once a week or so. But my biggest question is just trying to figure out what season of Power Rangers do I want to tackle first. I don't know if I want to play around in the Neo Saban era as of right now. I'm wondering if I want to either tackle something along the lines of Disney era or regular Saban era. But watch-alongs will be coming. If anything, I'm just trying to create a new overlay, a new way to present the watch-alongs and things like that. But if you guys have any suggestions, not in the live chat, but if you want to, in the comment section, after this video wraps up, in the comment section, if you want to go ahead and just put in your three suggestions of Power Rangers series that you guys would like for me to go ahead and do live watch-alongs for, certainly go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment section after this episode winds up streaming, ladies and gentlemen, because I love doing the reactions, so I'm glad that the reactions are back on our channel. Again, go check out our Go Buster reaction. Episode 39 is up on our channel right now. And again, there is a link in the description box below for you guys to certainly follow along. But then one thing that I do want to go ahead and bring back is some watch-alongs. We do have some watch-alongs on our YouTube page already. We've done the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 1995 watch-along for the movie. You can go ahead and check that out. And we also did the Gokaiger versus Go Sager Great Hero Battle. That's we did a watch along for that. That's available on our YouTube page. So we definitely want to go ahead and start including some Power Ranger seasons and kind of just going back. For me, I think it'll be great for nostalgia, for Power Ranger knowledge, you know, and to really watch some Power Rangers along with you guys as well, and have you guys give your thoughts on the episode while I give my opinions on them as well. So looking forward to go ahead and revisiting some of these seasons, because it's been a minute for me. It's been quite some time since I revisited the Power Ranger season. So it should be a great refresher course and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to it, guys. All right, you know what, we do have another topic. Should I transition? You know what? I'll go ahead and knock this one out of the way too. Not too much to talk about, but I thought that this was rather fascinating. It's something that I just wind up noticing today. I don't know how long it's been buzzing on Twitter for. I feel like I haven't been on Twitter too much this past week, unfortunately. But I like to go ahead and skim through my Twitter feed before I even go live, like a day or two beforehand, just to see if there has been any news that I wind up missing. So when it comes to the Lightning collection, I was rather thrilled to kind of see this tidbit of information pop up here. This comes to us from the Twitter handle No Pink Spandex, that does a great job of putting together all these great pieces here for Power Rangers with their ton of information that we wind up getting. So this is from No Pink Spandex, but they say, according to their source, the upcoming Power Ranger Lightning collection Wave 8 of the main figures have been announced, or at least I should say, according to No Pink Spandex. So they've got Zeo Green. So Adam's getting himself another collection piece. Lost Galaxy Red. All right, Leo, good to see you. We even have freaking SPD Pink up in here as well. And of course, Dino Thunder Blue. I thought we had a Dino Thunder Blue already. Maybe I'm wrong though. I did see Ethan or Kevin, excuse me. I did see Kevin on Twitter actually retweet this. He had the big old eye emojis and he had hashtag Hasbro. So maybe he wants Hasbro to go ahead and send him send him a copy of his own action figure. I feel like I've seen the blue Dino Thunder Ranger in an action figure form before. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of another character that they might have utilized. But I do know that we have already some of these figure teams already introduced that we're now just sort of adding to. So I love the idea here that we are getting some more additional ranges so that they can have some full-fledged teams. And that's one of the things that they talked about at the Hasbro PulseCon when they did the Lightning Collection side of things. They said, you know, we understand that there's a high demand for so many different ranges out there, and we're really doing our best to try and trickle out what certainly can, right? Because the idea for them is they do want to finish off teams and they do want to go ahead and give, you know, complete teams. So things are definitely going to trickle down. It's not all going to certainly come at once, but make no mistake, they do have plans on at least completing your teams at some particular point in time. But, you know, they did focus on the idea also that, you know, they understand the pushback towards Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but from a business point of view, people also have to understand that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is probably their biggest selling aspect of what they do when it comes to a lot of their Lightning Collection or their toy figures, because it's just the most recognizable IP when it comes to Power Rangers out there. You don't have to like it. Right? Like, I know there's a ton of people out there that get tired of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You don't have to like it, but understand from a business point of view, that's the reason why they push so much MMPR and so much Tommy, because there is a demand for it, and people certainly still do buy it. But it's times like this when we get a wave that's Tommy less, right? And it really just goes to show that they do have other characters that they are willing to showcase and willing to go ahead and put out there and to try and finish completing your teams that you probably have tried to certainly put together. So there's some characters up here I'm super thrilled that are certainly getting a figure. Definitely Leo. Like, a part of me thinks that we've already haven't we gotten a Dino Thunder Blue? Like, man, I feel like I've seen some professional photos of Dino Thunder Blue already, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking Billy from MMPR. Maybe that's who I'm thinking of. But regardless, I'm glad that all these characters are getting their time to shine, getting more Lightning Collection pieces put out there. So good on you, Hasbro, for certainly pushing out this new wave here. So hopefully this is correct coming from New Pink Spandex. I feel like a lot of these leaks and source information that I've been seeing for Lightning Collection has tended to be pretty spot on. Like, I haven't really seen Hasbro introduce something different, like outside of what some of these sources and leaks have confirmed. I mean, maybe additional things, right? But never like, oh, you guys got that one wrong. You guys, I don't believe I've come across that as of yet. So if I had to assume that this is going to be Wave 8, yeah, this is probably going to be Wave 8. What's crazy to me, though, is I literally even started seeing leaked things for Wave 9. I'm like, guys, we haven't even gotten Wave 8 yet. Slow down on the leaks. You know what I'm saying? Slow down on this stuff. This is information I want to get hyped about later on down in the timeline. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're leaking Lightning Collection information left and right, guys. So if you are a Lightning Collection fan and you're hoping for some surprises, a lot of these surprises are just being X'd out for you. Just being presented to you by everybody else. So I hope you enjoy the way that these are presented to you, even if Hasbro might have plans at some point in time to do an official unveiling for these waves. But we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. But I'm loving what we're seeing so far from from the selection of characters for this upcoming Wave 8. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and go on to our last topic for the day. And this last topic for me is a little bit bittersweet, but it is fantastic also in the same sense that it's a look to the future, if you will, for Boom Studios. We do have, starting in November, if I'm not mistaken, we do have a new chapter for Power Ranger comic books. That's right, we've got Mighty Morphin issue number 1 that's coming, along with Power Rangers issue number 1 that's coming also. But before we can get there, we do have to say farewell, unfortunately, to an upcoming title. This bit of information comes to us from Boom Studios directly, which gives us our first look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 55, ladies and gentlemen. Issue 55 is set to be the final issue for this run. It's his first appearance of the new Green Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 55. Discover the shocking finale of the acclaimed Power Rangers series in October 2020. It says today, Hasbro and Boom Studios revealed a first look at the explosive series finale of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 55 from Ryan Parrott and Moises Hidalgo. It does say it's a battle for the ages. The Power Rangers Dinozords, Thunderzords versus the Dark Rangers Terrorzords, and nothing will ever be the same. Plus the shocking first appearance of a new Green Ranger, setting the stage for the upcoming era of unlimited power in the brand new series Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers. That's pretty cool. Setting up the stage for the upcoming era, ladies and gentlemen. Unlimited power. That is the new era we're getting into when it comes to Power Ranger comics. I dig the fact that they actually gave it a brand new era. I don't know if like the eras would also be considered like Shattered Grid and Necessary Evil and Beyond the Grid. Like, are those considered eras to them, or are those just considered like just story arcs? Because a part of me is wondering, like, when we start getting Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers and stuff in those issues, right, is there going to have like a unlimited power like logo at the top, kind of how we did with the other big events, or is this literally just like an era and not like the name of a upcoming crossover? I'll be interested to see it, but I like the name of that upcoming era. It immediately makes me think of Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. Unlimited power, as he's like hitting him with the electricity from from Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, that's exactly what it reminds me of. Let's go ahead and I'm not going to showcase these to you because I did go ahead and put them together in like an actual little collage here. So we do have ourselves the some pages here, some first look pages, if you will, for the upcoming issues. I love this amazing splash page here from Moises Hidalgo. Just get an opportunity to see the Thunderzords and the Terrorzords just going to town on each other. Mind you, I absolutely love the designs for just the Dark Rangers in general. I think the storyline that Ryan Parrott and Moises have put together, I think have been really, really great, to be honest with you. So we've got the splash page there with the great artwork. We've got the Red Thunder Dragon Zord, which is honestly one of my favorite red Zords that we've had for Power Rangers. I just always personally love the design. I don't think we don't have enough dragon designs like that, to be quite honest with you, but definitely love that. And I didn't even notice this, but if you guys on that second page in the middle there, it looks as though whatever Terrorzord that is just knocked the Thunderzord out of the sky. It looks like that might have been Finster's like pterodactyl or winged creature knocking the red Thunderzord out of the sky. But if you look at the bottom panel, if you look at it, it's like the red Thunderzord crashing into the city, like just destroying and toppling one of the buildings that it winds up shooting through. They're not kidding when they talk about this is probably going to be pretty epic of a battle when it comes to some of the Zords. Now, for me, when it comes to the comic books, I do love me a good Zord battle. So I'm eager to kind of see what they wind up having in here. And of course, we get to see Zach along with his Thunderzord also facing off against a creature in the last panel as well. So I'm eager to see how good this Zord battle is going to be. Like, for me, I definitely appreciate Like, I definitely appreciate great character building, great one-on-one sort of group fighting and action and things like that. Sometimes the Zord battles, I definitely appreciate it, but sometimes the Zord battles can be kind of cut and paste, if you will. So I'm really interested to see just how all out they go for this particular Zord battle. You know, I feel as though Moises Hidalgo, for me at least, has really come around to having some great sort of action pieces that he's managing to kind of put together. So I definitely want to see what they can do with the Zord battle, if it's going to be as epic as they say that it is. I just hope that this Zord battle isn't all that happens, right? Like, because this is going to be the finale for issue 55. This is our very last Mighty Morphin Power Ranger issue before it really goes on to its next era, if you will. So for me, I don't necessarily want this to be just completely action packed. I definitely do want it, don't get me wrong, but I certainly still hope that it has some great character moments in here. You know, the article did talk a little bit about that we were going to be introduced to a brand new Green Ranger in here. So I'm hoping that there are certainly some human aspects and elements to their characters to be focused on, right? Like, is there pushback to who this new Green Ranger is? Are they all in agreement, right? Is it Lord Draken? Who isn't? I really want to see just some of their decision making and some of their emotional outcome of when we do discover who this new Ranger is. So hoping it's not all action. I'm pretty sure it is going to be rather epic, but I'm hoping that this is almost like a double-sized issue, so we can get a little bit of everything to kind of wrap this up. Because I think it would be a little bit unfortunate if this is the last episode or the last issue, and all we get is like 30-something pages of a Zord battle and no character development or growth for these characters to really push it into this new era. You know what I mean? So I'm really fascinated to see where things collide. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe even the previous issue of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers focused on the Omega Rangers. So I'm highly expecting to see the Omega Rangers in here also. Now, whether or not that means the Omega Rangers are going to team up with the Mighty Morphin Rangers to take down the Dark Rangers, or there's going to be, maybe they play a pivotal role in the idea of a new Green Ranger. You know what I mean? Who certainly knows? It'll be fascinating to see who, not only who they choose, but the incredible action and how the Omega Rangers are even going to fit into the storyline to officially wrap it up. But guys, this is a preview for Mighty Morphin issue 55. Let me see if it gives me print copies of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 5th issue 55 will be available October 21st exclusively at local comic book stores. So yeah, this upcoming Wednesday, guys, new comic book day this upcoming Wednesday. Grab your final issue of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You know, I'm hoping that once we get done with this section or this era of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, is there a way I can get like a graphic novel of like all 55 issues in one hardcover? I would be completely on board with that. Please make that happen. I would absolutely love that one day. But guys, listen, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, unfortunately, is coming to an end. You just got the opportunity to see a preview for issue number 55. Certainly go ahead and let me know your thoughts or your levels of excitement for the wrapping up of this, because again, we do have a new unlimited power era that's set to go ahead and begin in November with Mighty Morphin #1 and Power Rangers #1. If you are considering the idea of getting into Boom Studios comics and you haven't done so before, this is the opportune time to do so. We're wrapping up Mighty Morphin Power Rangers here. I believe like the following week we'll be wrapping up the mini series for Draken New Dawn also, and then we're going to be unleashing. Oh, we also have the graphic novel for Sins of the Future that's supposed to be coming out here within the next week or two also, and then moving on to the next epic era of Power Rangers in November. Guys, Boom Studios is doing some amazing things right now. So if you're fascinated or interested in some comic books, now's the time to certainly go ahead and get on board. And listen, even if you don't have a local comic book store near you, you can still go ahead and get these comic books digitally, guys. Sometimes if I can't get to the comic book store, I'll read the comic books on my phone or on a tablet or on my laptop. Go to comixology.com. You can purchase those particular comic books even cheaper, maybe a couple cents cheaper, but saving a pretty penny here or there never hurt anybody. So if you can't get to the local comic book store, I would always recommend please support your local comic book store first. But if you can't, go ahead and check out comiXology.com to go ahead and get your newest issue and all of the back issues also. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's actually going to go ahead and do it for us in regards to the topics this week. So, everybody, thank you very much for certainly joining me today. So, with that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and jump over to our live viewer questions. Again, guys, if you want to go ahead and submit a live viewer question over to be answered live on air, submit them over to our email, aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. Again, aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com, and your question certainly will be answered. So with that out of the way, let's do some live viewer questions. Do I even need this banner up? No, I probably don't. All right, let me go ahead and jump over here. And while you guys are, I'll jump into the live comment section with you guys here in a minute. I am going to go ahead and check both because I do believe I got from my A Plus Opinions email also. All right. This comes to us from JB says, what? He says, I hope I got the email right. You didn't, JB, but that's okay. I checked both of them, man. I checked both of them. So we got you. He says, my question for you, my friend, is do you prefer to have the Sentai villains in Dino Fury, including foot soldiers, or new original villains? I wouldn't be opposed to a little bit of both. And what I mean by that is I feel like majority of Sentai villains I would be okay with, but I would not mind them adding maybe one original villain, honestly. Like for me, a part of me wants to see, like if I had to choose from villains that I would love to see in Dino Fury, from its Super Sentai counterpart in Rio Soldier, Crayon I would love to see. I would love to see Weisel. And I would also love to see Precious. Those three villains I'm perfectly okay with. The foot soldiers, they could certainly keep them around. I kind of dig the Alice in Wonderland theme for their design and stuff, so I'm perfectly okay with having them around. But maybe give me a new original villain to be sort of the overarching general, if you will. Or like if not, I'm okay with them even using somebody like Precious, who seemed like one of the main villains before we wind up getting the true main villain of the season, if you will. But I think they could do other things. I think they can do other things. So give me Precious, Weisel, and Crayon at least in Dino Fury in some capacity. And if they want to give me a new original villain, I would be all completely on board with that, or at least just make Precious the villain of the season. Or listen, we also have what? Guy Sorg they could utilize if they wanted to make as the overall villain. They could also utilize Brown, Real Soul Brown, if they wanted to give him a bigger role, right? So there definitely is options. So the more and more I think of it, the less of an original villain. But I feel like with Scrozzle and Beast Morphers, I feel like maybe they want to kind of create their own villains too. So it wouldn't surprise me, though. It wouldn't surprise me, JB. But I'm leaning more towards the Sentai villains, but I'm okay if they decide to go ahead and sprinkle in at least maybe one original villain also. Let's see here. Let me go to the rest of the questions here. Now, this is from L'Oreal, aka Blossom. She did go ahead and submit this over to me for our Kara Major review that we wind up doing this week, and I missed it, unfortunately. Question. She says, wasn't the Jan Speak the girls from Geki Ranger strange but cool, or what? I thought it was pretty cool. I personally didn't watch Geki Ranger, but so I did have to go ahead and do a little bit of research myself. But once they started showcasing the comparisons between Scratch or SCRTC and Carrot, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that because I remember when I first started watching Kara Major episode 0 and they showcased the Scratch logo on Cena's track costume. I remember somebody pointing out that particular logo saying, oh, look, they're paying homage to Geki Ranger. So it was kind of cool that that story or that idea of that logo comes back in this episode, and you get the opportunity to see everybody, or at least you get the opportunity to see how a past Super Sentai season has connected with a current one, and getting the opportunity to bring back some of the older cast members, if you will, from Geki Ranger, I thought was rather brilliant. That's the one thing that I love about. I don't want to say it's not the only one thing, but it is one of the things that I love about Super Sentai, that they're not afraid to go ahead and bring back some of these cameos from older seasons and have them play a significant role in an episode here or there. You know, they don't have to overtake the entire season, but the fact that they wind up getting her to come in, getting the both of them to come in for an episode, I thought was pretty cool. It's always cool to kind of have that nostalgia factor and go back a little bit. So weird. I mean, maybe in a sense, but for me, I liked kind of getting an opportunity to go back memory lane, if you will. What did you think of Cena's song? I didn't mind it so much. It was okay for me. I still like Tommy Tomo's better, but it was just okay for me. You say the way that Cena used the arrow was totally awesome. Her lightning meteor attack was so awesome. I love Cena's attacks. I truly do. She's got some of the best. I wonder if it's because of the fact that she is the speedster on the team. Cena's song was amazing. Mock had every right to praise his partner, but he's crazy. I understand he loves her and all, but geez, oh Rosita, yeah, Mock is in love with her. I don't know if it's an idea that he's just in love with her, or if it's a case of like he's just that devoted to her, you know, considering the fact that he is her machine, right? Got to be there for her at all times. There's just a weird relationship between those two for sure. Let's see here. What else do we got? Jessica Friedman had a question. She says, hey, Adam, I was wondering why back when RPM was airing, why it was so hard to find on TV, and would you like to see a sequel to RPM one day? A sequel to RPM would be pretty neat. I don't think we would ever see something like that, though, unfortunately, so I'm not going to get my hopes up, but an RPM sequel would be cool. Why it was so hard to find on TV. Unfortunately, I didn't watch RPM on TV. That was definitely a series that I had to go back and get caught up to. I'm wondering at what time period that came on board. Like, was that on Disney Family, or was that like Jetix at the time? Like, I don't even know, to be honest with you. So maybe that was in a weird time period where, you know, if you didn't have cable, or you didn't have that premium package of cable, like you couldn't get maybe that Disney show, because I don't think there was air. I don't think even RPM, I feel like back then they moved everything to a cable. You know, like back in the day growing up, for the regular Saban era, it was easy to find it on just regular network television, right? 2, 4, 8, 11, whatever channel Fox was for you. It was always easy to find it on national television. But as Power Rangers grew and television grew, they clearly went over to the cable side of things. And by the time we get RPM, I don't even know where cable television was at that time. Like, I'm pretty sure that by that time they probably had like 2 or 3 different Disney channels on TV, you know, regular Disney or maybe Disney Kids, Disney. I have no idea where it aired, to be honest with you. So who knows? Maybe it just wasn't that widely available for everybody to certainly watch when they wanted to, Jessica. So that's a good question, though. That's a good question. Unfortunately, I didn't watch RPM when it originally aired. Let's see here. Austin or AJ. My new live questions for tomorrow that has nothing to do with the ones I originally sent. Yeah, because I think you sent questions thinking that today's episode was the Dino Crossover. You said we know that the Phantom Ranger is one of the biggest mysteries of Power Rangers ever. Why do you think we never got his identity, excluding the behind the scenes issues? I think that's the only reason why we didn't get his identity revealed, honestly. It may be lack of storytelling, maybe just, you know. And which Ranger do you think would have been cool under the helmet besides it being Billy, or an alternate version? Um I'm trying to think who else I would have rather have had under there. I mean, especially during Turbo. I mean, I really probably would have only have wanted it to have been Billy. Like, I'm trying to think who else it might have could have been. Like, did they have any other hints as to who it could have been underneath there? Like for me, I would have been I definitely would have loved to have seen Jason return. So like for me, I'm glad that he eventually did come back for something like, I'm glad that he did come back for Zeo, but um yeah, I probably would have just gone with somebody. If anything, it probably would have just been Billy to me, because it was just I can't think of anybody else I really would have liked to have had in that role. I mean, maybe like a returning character from MMPR if they were to do something along those lines, but not really sure on that one, AJ. Um, when Forever Red first aired on TV, what was your reaction to see all the Rangers from Cole all the way back to Jason? It's funny. I feel like my reaction was the same when we did our Forever Red watch along. Like, just so hyped to see all these characters back again. Like for me, I love the fact that Carter gives um TJ his proper respect on his name when he gets introduced like this. Like for me, first and foremost, I think the episode just did a great job of just introducing us to all these Rangers and managing to bring us all together and on this mission with all within like the first 5-7 minutes of the episode. I think the pacing was done really perfectly, and for us to just kind of be thrusted into this adventure, I thought was brilliant. Like the idea of them literally handpicking Cole and thrusting him into a story that's already been developing behind the scenes that us as a viewer haven't even seen, right? Because they come and pick up Cole, and when they come and bring him to everybody else, the other Rangers have already formulated this plan, right? They're just in the process of all getting together and now being able to brief everybody. So I think that was brilliant to just pluck Cole out and just throw him into an adventure, and for him to be thrusted into that and to have all this fame and stardom around you, if you will, with all these big Power Ranger names and all these big Red Rangers and stuff. So cool, man. I'm pretty sure my head blew off for sure. And it did again when we did the watch along. It was so cool to see everybody coming together, the proper introductions that they all deserved, showcasing why they are as badass as they are, the chemistry between some of them, right? Being able to joke with each other at the end of the episode. It was, to this day, it still is probably one of my favorite crossover events because everything in there was just handled so well, from the acting to the action to the story to the chemistry. It was a great culmination for sure. So yeah, ecstatic, head blown off my shoulders. Yeah, great reactions to it when it first aired, and even again when I watched it for the watch along. You said, what did you think of the clip episode or clip show of Beast Morphers with all the history archives of the past Ranger villains? And how do you think Grid Battle Force even got their hands on all the Power Ranger weapons and Morphers from all 25 seasons? Do you think that means Beast Morphers as a series in the future, or before or after SPD, considering all the gears from the past 25 plus seasons? I think one of the things that we have to maybe get out of our heads, because I hear this a lot, the idea of people trying to figure out before or after SPD. And I think in the case of Beast Morphers, I think what they have solidified for us is that these dimensions and stories can really be taking place at any particular point in time, right? Because they're different dimensions and they're different worlds. So who truly knows when the events of SPD wind up happening, right? Because not every dimension is connected to each other. Maybe not every dimension is aware of each other as of yet. Right. But if we're in the world of Beast Morphers, where we can jump in and out of these particular dimensions, we probably can jump to the SPD dimension at any particular point in time. Now, whether or not that means like, did the SPD events of what happened in SPD already happen? So, like, if I'm a Beast Morpher Ranger and I go into the portal to SPD, have those events happened yet or not? I would assume that they probably have. Because of the fact that they have all these different technologies. But again, who's to say that they didn't just do some time travel of their own or some dimension skipping of their own and do some treasure hunting, and finding these things for themselves. Who's to say that in the past other ranger teams haven't come to that world and have left things behind? You know what I mean? So I don't really know if there's a clear-cut answer to that outside of the sense of I don't think it matters at this point, just because of the fact that it is sort of all connected. And I feel like they can come in and out of people's worlds and times whenever they certainly want to, right? Like the stuff from RPM technically has already happened in the RPM world, right? But it has no effect truly on like our world for the Beast Morphers, but they can still connect between the dimensions. So I don't really think it matters. I feel like if anything, the events of Beast Morphers is happening after all the events of these past shows that we've come to love. So if I had to take a guess, I would say it would come after. But now that we have all these dimensions, I think that question becomes less and less important, honestly. As far as what did I think of the clip show, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I know some people really enjoyed it, and that's great. Again, I don't want to take anything away from it or hamper their enjoyment of the episode, but episodes hit everybody just a little bit differently. And while I enjoyed some of this nostalgia factor, it still felt like pointless until I see otherwise. So the return of Goldar, great. The investigative work by Ravi and bringing out his inner Sherlock Holmes and Zoe being his Watson to a certain extent. I love seeing our Rangers being proactive like that and using this episode as sort of a mystery. What's going on with Evox and Skrull, or what are some of their plans? But I love the action piece, Poisandra and stuff. I just don't like the usage. I guess for me, the usage of the clips just didn't really amount to anything in this week's episode. So it felt like I was just watching a clip show of a clip show, watching clips of villains watching clips. And I get the idea that that's part of their story to find a formidable foe. But one, I would think they should know their villain history and who's available. Two, the idea of them becoming good people shouldn't keep you away from reanimizing them, right? Because they're not going to be good people when you reanimize them from their villain weapons, right? So some of the things just did not work for me, at least on the villain side of things. Great nostalgia, but nostalgia doesn't make for great TV all the time. At least it didn't for me in this case. And so for me, not the biggest fan of this week's episode. It does halt a little bit of my enthusiasm and for Dino Crossover, that momentum, but I'm still looking forward to it regardless. But for me, at least, this wasn't wasn't my favorite episode. Let's see here. I think that's probably going to do it for our questions. Let me just double check though, because sometimes these things take a minute to have to actually reload. Yeah, I think that's all the questions that we have for right now. So, if anything, guys, that will definitely do it for our live viewer questions. I'm going to go ahead and jump over, though, into the live comments and see what some of you guys are saying. So let me scroll all the way back up to the top here. This goes back to 1228. All right, so we'll start from there and we'll go through the rest, guys. But feel free, again, when it comes to the live viewer questions, guys, you guys can submit your live viewer questions at any time throughout the week. You certainly don't have to wait to Saturday morning or Friday night. You can send your questions throughout the week. If there's something, news information that drops, say Monday or Tuesday, that you want to talk about on this week's episode of this upcoming week's episode of APlus Morphinominal, send in a question. APlus Morphinominal at gmail.com. Whatever the case may be, guys, go ahead and submit your questions in through the end of the week, if anything, or throughout the week. And then on our live episodes, we'll definitely go ahead and talk about those for you guys. Let's see here. I'm trying to see here. What else are you guys saying? Power Rangers in your area. It's entirely possible they have to do it themselves with the original ideas. I'm not quite sure with that. I see that's the reason why I hate this thing being cut off sometimes. Bacon Sushi says, I take this standalone episode than an actual week hiatus before the actual crossover. I love that we technically get a second crossover. Thank you, Uncle Hasbro. Uncle Hasbro. Mike Knight Hero says, I have a feeling that we're going to get something big for Dino Fury. I agree with you there, Mike Knight Hero. There is I feel like with the momentum here from Beast Morphers showcasing, at least for the second half of the season, that like, hey guys, look at some of the storytelling that we can do, right? I bet you guys are excited to see what we might do when it's all original storytelling for us going forward. At least when it comes to Dino Fury, right? Like Beast Morphers was handed to them. This is definitely all Hasbro for Dino Fury, and I think something big's coming too, Mike. I definitely agree with you. You also say, man, Avatar Roxy is way better than Robo Roxy. Yeah, I definitely agree with you that there as well. They just haven't really utilized these new versions of Robo Blaze and Roxy well at all. Bacon and Sushi says, if we ever get a Forever Red 2 at some point, I hope they honor Pua. They don't have to recast Shane, just show archive footage for his or his picture. I would agree with you there. I don't need a stunt double Pua to be in a Forever Red 2 if we ever do get one. I think the idea of just paying honor to like a fallen comrade, I think would be sufficient, honestly, you know. Um I like that idea a lot better. Bacon and Sushi. PR in your area says and Cole. I don't know about Cole. I don't know about Cole. Cole did murder somebody. And whether it be self defense or not, somebody did die by this man's sword. Not no pun intended, but somebody did literally die by this guy's sword. So I don't know if they would do that. I don't know if they would do that. Goku, he says, I know Jason Bischoff, a former executive of Hasbro, gave his pitch for Q Ranger called Power Ranger Supernova. Yes, I do believe he did. I believe Jason even put like a full-length video out or did a video on it. Ideas like Human Roxy being pink and Rangers from alien races. Where'd the rest of your thing go? Uh, um, not too hyped for which season gets adapted. I just want a good show. I don't know what happened to the second part of that. I don't know what happened to the second part of that question or that comment, Goku, but I did like it. Yeah, if you have the opportunity, check out Jason Bischoff as he talks about his adaptation or at least his pitch for Power Ranger Supernova, which could have been Q Ranger. So yeah, definitely go ahead and check that out. He definitely has some great ideas. It just sucks that some of this stuff may not get to come to fruition. You know what I mean? Shadow Nova says, I'm going to give it a haven't seen it out of 10. Here we go, Blossom. Yes, rest in peace, Robert Axelrod. You never know. Like, this is, you never know what you know how they say you never know what you got till it's gone. It's one of those things. Like this is a perfect example. Like this week's episode is a perfect example of not truly understanding what you got until it's gone. Right, knowing that they couldn't have Robert Axelrod come back to reprise his role as Lord Zed, because I'm pretty sure if he was still alive, he probably certainly would have given it a shot or would have certainly have tried to. And so instead we wind up getting just this atrocious Lord Zed voiceover that my dog probably could have done a better job about it, just barking. It's just one of those things like you realize just how the impact of Robert Axelrod's for his voice and how much of an impact and how iconic it certainly was, because once you hear Zed in this episode, it immediately triggers like, ugh, like what the is that? Like, just it was so bad. It was so bad. I yeah, it was bad. So again, this is a perfect example of you don't know what you got till it's gone. And now that we can hear Lord Zed without Robert Axelrod, I miss the guy even more. I miss the guy even more. Bacon and Sushi says, where did the Vault and Go Busters? I mean, Beast Morphers? From all the old stuff. I'm guessing they just have them because no, I mean, I guess I don't have them because like sometimes things I like for me, guys, like I don't need everything explained to me. Like I don't necessarily need everything explained to me. Um, like I have my own imagination and I'm okay with my own imagination sometimes sort of filling in the blanks, considering the importance of grid battle force. It wouldn't surprise me if they've had contact with other rangers in the past before they even created their own beast morphers, right? If they have this type of technology, who's to say that they haven't crossed dimensions before? I mean, goodness, freaking we have Devin in here just sending out emails across dimensions to Dr. K like it's no like it's no big deal, right? So it's very easy for me to fathom the idea of Power Rangers like, hey, for our own benefit and security, we would like to create a vault and maybe send out a mass message to some of the Rangers, and the other Rangers from across the universes were like, yeah, let's put some of this stuff in safekeeping. Who's to say? But I don't need them to explain that to me. Like not every little tidbit of information has to be explained. I can fill in the blanks for myself. You know what I'm missing? I want some coffee. Dying for some coffee today, man. It's gonna be a long day for me. A long day. Oh, I'm assuming you guys are already throwing out some let's see here. Um Bacon and Sushi. I'm in love with Hunter Deno, aka Amelia, the new Dino Pink Fury Ranger. Adam knows how much I already into her. Bacon and Sushi. If it's a female and it got legs, I think you just like, yeah, you're drooling, man. You're drooling. But yes, I do know your love for Hunter Deno as Amelia. I just hope that you're not harassing her, man. I hope you're not hitting up her IG. Nah, I know you're not like that. But yeah, Hunter Deno, I think out of the main cast that we have so far that's been announced between her, Kai, and Russell, I feel like she's probably the most active on social media. At least I happen to see a lot of her stuff pop up on IG on my page. I haven't really seen too much from Kai and Russell, with the exception of them commenting at something that that Hunter wind up putting up. Because yeah, she did post a brand new photo of her out in New Zealand. Speaking of cast members, Alexandra Nunez, who right now has been rumored to play the green Dino Fury Ranger. I did see another photo of her on IG this week, and the location again was San Francisco, California. So it still has me scratching my head, guys. It has me scratching my head. This does make me wonder, like, a couple of things that are just going in my head when it comes to the Dino Fury cast. Just a couple things. The fact that Alexandra Nunez is in San Francisco does make me wonder where Chance Perez is. Is Chance Perez in New Zealand? Is he not? If he is in New Zealand as the Black Ranger, why isn't Alexandra Nunez in New Zealand as the Green Ranger, right? As of right now, the stuff that I have seen from Alexandra Nunez says San Francisco, California on her IG page. Could it be a case that we have our 3 Power Rangers confirmed? They're out there filming right now, which we know out in New Zealand. Maybe these new Rangers, while I don't want to say I was under the assumption, because like when you watch Real Soldier, I think they come in relatively quickly, like within maybe like the first 2 or 3 episodes. This does make me wonder, like if they are filming now, do these additional Rangers not come in until say the 9th or 8th episode, right? Like a little further along than we're used to? Or is Alexandra Nunez just not a part of the cast anymore? I really have no idea what they're doing, or how this is all going to play itself out. Again, this is brand new, right? This is no longer Saban and them doing things their way. This is definitely Hasbro doing things their way. So I don't think it's going to be quite I don't think it's going to be quite business as usual when it comes to filming for this season of Dino Fury. So I'm definitely going to keep my ears out and eyes open to see what's certainly going on, because I've only seen those three in New Zealand. I haven't really seen too much, heard anything either from Chance Perez, and the stuff I have seen from Nunez has been in California still. So I'm wondering if she's still part of the crew. When is she going to be going to New Zealand if that's the case? We'll see. I just feel like the plot thickens, guys. The plot thickens when it comes to this cast. But yes, AJ, I'm fully aware of your love for Hunter Deno. Goku says, good luck trying MMPR season 1 with 60 episodes. Like, honestly, a part of me wants to go back to MMPR just for nostalgia's sake, but I know that like, those seasons haven't always been the best, but I think they just hit closer to home. A part of me does want to go back and do an MMPR season. Maybe that's one I'll just do on my own, because it is 60 episodes. Like, damn. I probably would want to do something that has like a 40-something episode arc to it, if you will. But who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. What about Power Rangers 2017? I believe I did the watch along for that already. Did I not save it? Ooh, maybe I put that up already too. Yikes. Maybe I didn't save some of this stuff. I might have to do watch alongs again for some of this stuff, honestly. Um, Goku says Dino Thunder and SPD are both good watches. Yeah, those are definitely two good watches. I would love to recommend those. Great recommendations. Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm crossover, please. Okay. Jungle Fury. I do like that idea of a Jungle Fury. Alec, I kind of like that. I was always a fan of that one too. Could we pick a season from each era? Yeah, why not? Whatever you want to do, Shadow Nova, whatever three suggestions you want to go ahead and do, go ahead and do so. Again, put these guys, put this stuff not in the live chat, but after we stream, if you remember, put this in the comment section. Put these suggestions in the comment section for sure. Goku says, this is just me, but the post Zordon era was the most consistent era in terms of storytelling. I mean, I don't think you're off by much, Goku. I mean, you're probably right to a certain extent. I do feel like certain eras of the Zordon era were pretty well told. Like I really enjoy Zeo, like Zeo and in space for me were pretty great. But I know what you mean in regards to like just consistent season after season, like just solidness. Yeah, that Disney era came through, man. Disney era definitely came through for sure. Welcome back, Noah. Good to see you. I saw you popped out in and out for a second. Jaden says, does Saban still get a creation credits for Dino Fury or Hasbro? I'm probably gonna lean towards Hasbro here. I believe creation credits, he might still get creation credits. Like he may still be linked, like just from a creationary standpoint. Like as far as like the credits go, you might see like created by Saban. But as far as like impact and like his fingerprints on the season, make no mistake, that's definitely all Hasbro. But they may at least recognize him as like the creation. You know what I mean? There we go. Shadow Nova NJB says, I think you're thinking of the Dino team up figures, Jason, Shelby, and Ethan. And then, yeah, he says Ethan is in a pack with Jason and Shelby. So, yeah, thank you guys. I was like, I swore I hadn't seen one already. Doomsday. What's up, Doomsday? Anything new on the Power Rangers new animated series? No, I haven't heard anything new, any news in regards to that outside of what we just talked about last week. We did Mega Power Brazil. the website, was in attendance, or at least was at the festival of licensing that Hasbro was just at. And during that, those on the panel for Hasbro specifically said that they had big plans for Power Rangers, that right now in the pipeline, they had ideas for cinema, for streaming, and yes, animated series as well. So it looks as though, now, who knows when we would certainly get any of these new properties, like any of these new any of this new content, but the fact that behind the scenes that there is at least something in development. Now, will it see the light of day? Perhaps, hopefully, maybe it certainly will. But when they say that they're working on things like streaming, animation, cinema, that means that they're working on developing these things, the things that behind the scenes are being worked on. So hopefully they come together with the great animated series idea and it gets the full-fledged to go. But they are at least working on the concept of an animated series behind the scenes. So outside of that, no other details really as to what we can expect. And I'm perfectly okay with this, right? Like nobody here is saying no more live action, just animated, right? Like I feel like people tend to, when they hear news of an animated series, just think that their live action is being taken away from them. Like, make no mistake, nobody has said that yet, right? Like nobody has said that. So who's to say that we could get more live action, maybe differently branded, maybe without Super Sentai footage. But who's to say we don't get ourselves a live action Power Ranger series, but also have an animated series that's available? Or maybe they come out at different times, or, you know, like maybe they're not out at the same time. Maybe we get a season one of animated series, and then maybe in a year or two, we get ourselves another live action thing. You know, I think it's capable of having both on TV at one point in time, or at least, you know, unveiling them at different points in time. So as far as like details and stuff, no. I think the only thing that we have heard was that, yes, from Hasbro themselves, they are working on Power Rangers animation. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of the other Illuminati articles mentioned the idea that maybe it would be a focus on like MMPR stuff. But again, nobody from Hasbro has specifically said, yes, our animated series will be focusing on MMPR. We just understand the fact that Hasbro loves MMPR, and with good reason too. Also, it is what the general public recognize as Power Rangers. So I get that. So as far as full details, no. So we'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. They did say at the Festival of Licensing, Hasbro did say that come 2020, though, they will have a better picture as to what the future of Power Rangers is certainly going to look like. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if they're holding off on a lot of these announcements, at least until the premiere of Dino Fury, right? If you've got a brand new season, you want your focus and attention to be on that season. So you're probably not going to give out too many details on other things that are going to take away from that. So once we wind up getting Dino Fury, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Hasbro open up a little bit more about the future, having more concrete details as to what we can certainly expect going forward. But from everything that I've seen, it sounds like they do have plans, big plans for Power Rangers, including animation. Goku does clarify some things for me. He says, Goku says, those are story arcs going back to the Boom Studios thing, right? Because we talked about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 55 being the last issue from Boom Studios for that era, if you will. And I was like, is this unlimited power era that they're talking about, is this like Boom? Is this like Necessary Evil, Shattered Grid? But he says, no, those are story arcs, but Necessary Evil was the beginning of a new era with the introduction of the Stone Canyon Trio too. Absolutely right. And the Omega Rangers also came in during that Necessary Evil era. So okay, that definitely clarifies a little bit more for me, Goku. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. Tyrannosaurus Red Dragon Thundersword power. That's a mouthful, man. That's a mouthful, but one of my favorite swords. One of my favorite swords. Like, I really wish that I had like a, maybe not even I was gonna say 2 scale model of a, but maybe like a 1 in 1,000th scale model of Tyrannosaurus Red Dragon Thundersword. I think that would be kind of cool. That would make for like a fantastic like statue or mantelpiece, honestly. We got Mike Knight Hero in here. He says, "Man, I got to catch up on comics. I'm so behind. I heard the new Draken, New Dawn series. Yeah, check them out if you can, Mike Knight. I mean, I'm pretty sure by now you could probably, if you need to catch up, I'm pretty sure they probably have volumes already, whether they be like hardback or trade paperback sort of graphic novels, where you can get a few of them together in like one issue. Definitely go ahead and see if you can catch up, Mike. If not, definitely go ahead and check them out on Comixology. Probably cheaper to go ahead and purchase, honestly, especially if you're trying to just get caught up. If you don't want to go to your local comic book store and dish out 12 something dollars, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you could probably buy the individual issues digitally, at least easier, and just fly through them if you want to. Doomsday says that cover for Mighty Morphin Power Ranger comic book looks fire. Yeah, man. I tell you, let me pull this up again if I can. The artist that does these covers, Jamal Campbell, he also does a comic book, Far Sector, for DC. It's a Green Lantern comic book, and with his art style and just the theme of Green Lantern, it's breathtaking to look at. It's breathtaking, amazing artwork. I love Jamal Campbell's artwork. I truly do. Like, if I could have this as a poster on my wall, please. Like, Jamal, I don't know if you're watching this episode or not, but wherever I can get me a poster version of this, or like a print, or whatever the case may be, please somebody let me know, because I would love to have this artwork. So I agree with you, Doomsday. The cover for this is fire. Like, if you're going out on a bang, this is the best way that you certainly want to go ahead and do that. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. This is random, but if Dino Fury Gold Ranger, what if Dino Fury Gold Ranger is Adam, not Adam Park from Mighty Morphin? I mean, A+ Adam. That would be dope. That would be dope. Why? Is it because of my hair? Does it just automatically remind you of what was his name? John Fight. What was his name? Something. I can't remember who the guy that we were that was going to be the Gold Ranger. But yeah, that would be cool if I took my helmet off and it's me, guys. It's me underneath the Gold Ranger helmet. Let's see. Goku says, by the way, since we got one Power Ranger graphic novel every year, which team would you like to see get one? For me, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, and SPD. I would be cool with Lost Galaxy getting one. Let me even get one for Mystic Force, honestly. Um, yeah, give me one from Mystic Force and Lost Galaxy also. Yeah. Power Ranger says, you don't seem as excited about the live viewer questions as Indy led us to believe. What did he say? I don't remember what Indy even said. No, I think I just need the case of the coffee today. I need the case of the coffee today, guys. That's what it is. Sarav, what's up, Sarav? I appreciate you coming through. He says, I'd say no to the foot soldiers at all. The question that was asked about would I want returning Super Sentai villains for Dino Fury, including the foot soldiers, or all original? And Sarav says no to foot soldiers. I wouldn't, I can see that. I would be okay with that too. I don't mind it just because of the fact that I really like their design, but I would be on board with that too, Sarav. What's up, Anita? Good to see you. I appreciate you coming through as always. Dante, this man dressed to impress. Well, gotta look like a professional host from time to time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't shave this morning, so trying to put on that jacket, that blazer. You know what I'm saying? Gotta get that professional vibe going sometimes. Dante, we have been doing this for a while. I think when I first started off doing this, I started doing when I did the YouTube videos, I started doing them like button up shirt and a tie and things like that, like really presentable. Probably because of the fact that whenever I did my videos, it was just me coming home from work, right? So I was still dressed in my work clothes, if you will. But as I started getting more and more comfortable on YouTube and doing more and more videos, definitely started becoming a little bit more lax in regards to my attire. But today, you know what? The weather's getting a little bit cooler outside. I mean, it is a little bit nice little breeze here in the house. We got the fan on and things like that. So, but just wanted to look presentable for you ladies and gentlemen out there. Sometimes I gotta kick up that host quality another notch. Ooh, Goku says, for me, I would want the Phantom Ranger to be the embodiment of every dead Ranger from the past. That sounds legit. That sounds legit. You know what? Also, Shadow Nova, I like this idea too. The idea of Justin, an adult Justin would be interesting. That definitely would have been interesting. I agree with you. I wasn't the biggest fan of Justin, but um, maybe actually seeing him in an adult version probably maybe would have had me like his character a little bit better. But I think you guys have some great ideas. Goku, I think that's really cool. Like the idea of Phantom Ranger, right? The on the wordplay of the idea of the dead and things like that. That sounds pretty cool, man. That sounds pretty cool. Um, Mike Knight, hey Adam, bro, I would love to see Dino Fury version Guy Sorg hunt down past Rangers, challenge them until he meets the Dino Fury Rangers. Yo, I love that idea. I love that idea. Like a part of me even wonders like if they would utilize footage from the Super Sentai Strongest Battle crossover. Like I'm wondering if there was any clips or moments from that scene, from that um, crossover event that they might be able to utilize in Dino Fury as far as footage goes. Because I did love that idea of, especially in that mini crossover event, the idea of Guy Sorg going through Rangers, right? Battling all these different Rangers and stuff. I thought that was pretty neat to kind of see. So yeah, I like that idea, Mike. I really do. So Rob says, bring back Rick Medina as Decker. Um, it was it. I'm hold on. Yeah, guys, isn't this the guy that is in jail? Right? Didn't homeboy? Yeah, he got arrested for killing his roommate. I don't think he's out. Faces 6 years in state prison for a voluntary manslaughter when he was sentenced in March 30th for a gruesome slaying. Here, I'm gonna pull this up because everybody wants Rick back. I'm like, why do we want Rick back, guys? Do we not know history? He was originally charged with first-degree murder, which carries 26 years. But I guess not. He says, I think it's a good resolution for both parties. The office gave it a lot of consideration. I think they did a good job of evaluating the evidence and the risk. It says they said when the argument became physical, Medina stabbed Sutter multiple times with a sword. Friedman confirmed the weapon was a large double-edged sword, but said Medina used it for self-defense. His self-defense team argued that after he and Sutter had come to blows in part of another room, the actor locked himself and his girlfriend in his bedroom to get away from Sutter. He says Mr. Sutter broke through the bedroom door and charged Mr. Medina. Mr. Medina then picked up the closest weapon, which was the sword. There was some evidence that Mr. Sutter didn't want the girlfriend over at the house. Interesting. Fryman said Medina found the district deal favorable because the actor felt a great deal of angst about proceeding to trial and facing life in prison. He was happy and enthusiastic with the deal that was offered. Yeah, I would be too. If I killed a man and somebody gave me a deal of 6 years, you better believe I'm going to take it. So, I mean, listen, I wasn't there at the time, guys. I don't know what happened in that bedroom, but that's a story that I certainly remembered. But the fact that he literally stabbed somebody multiple times, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want Rick Medina back on Power Rangers. I don't, right? Like, I mean, maybe he fits Decker as the role, but let's see Rick Medina do some good first before we're just cool to bring this guy back who literally had to go ahead and get a deal to instead of 26 years, he gets 6 years in prison. So yeah, we got a little bit of time before Rick Medina actually gets out of jail, guys. We got a minute. It's so funny to me that people want Rick Medina back for killing somebody, but yet we have pushback from some Power Ranger fans that don't want the Operation Overdrive guy to come back because of some event that happened at a convention. Like, it's so ass backwards. I just don't understand it, guys. Not Ultra. What's up, Not Ultra? He says, hi, I'm here now. I'm going to leave my thoughts on this week's Beast Morphers episode. This episode was pretty much a Legacy of Power type of clip show episode from Power Ranger Dino Thunder. Yeah, it kind of is like that. He says, I did like this episode was used as the bridge for the 2 team up episodes. And I like how they used the clip show. But as much as I appreciate that it wasn't a holiday special, this was also kind of a wasted potential on the Ranger side. Instead of Dino Charge Rangers leaving last episodes, this would have been a perfect opportunity for more character interactions between them, between the 2 casts, especially when they were at the gym. They could have been good interactions, training between Rangers, etc. But I'm glad that they didn't have any holiday specials this year. Hopefully they will keep this trend for the future. Well said, Not Ultra. I completely agree with you there. The one thing that I have mentioned that I felt like it was wasted potential. I felt like it was me watching a clip show, watching another clip show. I enjoyed, like you mentioned, the idea of the Rangers. I thought they had a pretty cool, pretty decent part to play in here. You know, bridging that gap and things like that. The fact that we didn't get a holiday special, right? I hear a lot of people talking about that, but there were still some things about the episode that just felt off to me, right? And it really was just the idea of wasted potential, as you mentioned. You know, like it's odd to me. It is odd to me, and I'm glad that you brought up the fact that the Dino Charge Rangers were just there, and they wind up leaving, and now I'm expecting them to just come back. Why leave? But I get it. Listen, you probably want to go back to your own dimension and things like that. But I'm just saying, storyline wise, probably could have been utilized a little bit better and kept them in this story also. So, glad to hear your thoughts as always. Not Ultra. Glad to see you certainly come through. Bacon and Sushi says, I think Alexandra Nunez is just putting San Francisco location just to mess with us. Possible. Even Shadow Nova says the posts on for her page could be old. I mean, it is the most recent photo that I'm watching, that I'm looking at on her thing. So I know it's the most recent posts. But you're right. It could be an older photo of where she was at a couple months ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's to say the least? Who's to say? So you're absolutely right, guys. That's why it's got me scratching my head, because I don't know what to make of it. Now Ultra says, if you're going to do rewatches for PR, suggest any Disney era season. In my opinion, no Disney seasons were bad. I'm glad you like the Disney eras as much as I do, because I think we had that question. Like, if I had to choose a season, like which era of Power Rangers, or like what did I appreciate about Disney era. There's a lot that I definitely appreciated about Disney. I thought they did it for, again, it always baffled me that for a company that really didn't care for the franchise or didn't know what to do with it, they did pretty good with it. Bacon Studio says, "Is It's Morphin Time a staple in Power Rangers now? I feel like it's a. I want to say it's always been. I feel like the Neo Saban era kind of brought it back. So I definitely do feel so. And then maybe anytime that it has anything to do with dinosaurs, maybe thanks to the Dino Fury teaser trailer, they said it's Morphin Time since they used old audio from Beast Morphers. Yeah, I can see them. I can see them bringing it back. Mm, mm, mm. Blossom says, "I still can't believe Power Rangers will be animated soon. I don't know how soon is soon. I don't know. Um, if you ask me, I'm thinking what 2022 maybe, 2023 maybe for an animated series Power Rangers. I can easily see all of 2021 being a focus on Dino Fury. Wouldn't even be surprised if 2021 or 2022 is focusing on like the cinema aspect of things, and like 2022 and 2023 maybe new live action, and or I should say maybe new animation, maybe some new live action stuff going into production. I don't know, but it is nice to see that Hasbro is thinking of the future when it comes to Power Rangers and really what they can do to kind of expand it. AJ says, "How is Gadget doing?" For those of you who don't know, Gadget is my dog. She is a 9-year-old lab in pit mix, black lab in pit mix, I should say. She will be 10 in January, but she's doing good. She's not in the room out here. I think she's out there with the other dogs. Sarab says, "Agreed. Too soon." Oh, going back. Uh, oh, I guess we were talking about Rick Medina because they were saying something about bring Rick back as Decker. Blossom's like, too soon, dude. Too soon. Um, Doomsday says, "I didn't know Rick Medina is still in jail." Yeah, it says that article came out in 2017. That article I read said 2017, and it said 6 years. So I'm assuming he's still in jail. Maybe I'm wrong though, but based off of the article. Sarab says, "I apologize for the suggestion." Oh, you're fine, Sarab. You're absolutely fine. Sometimes I think people forget. I mean, honestly, look, Doomsday honestly didn't even know that Rick was in jail in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And again, we don't really even know the details. So true, really, Sarab, really, you don't have to apologize about that at all, man. Make any suggestions that you want to. But understand, I'm just saying you're not the first person that I have heard mention the idea of bringing Rick back at all. So that's so yeah. Don't worry, Sarab. It's definitely not on you, man. You don't have to apologize for that. But I do think sometimes we might need refresher courses. You know what I'm saying? Rick Medina went from being a Power Ranger to a show villain to a real life villain. Um, yeah, man. I tell you, it's crazy what happened. I remember when they announced it. I'm like, huh? He stabbed homeboy with a sword multiple times. Like, I get self defense. Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. But listen, if homeboy's in jail for a reason, he might be in jail for a reason. So, Usai, what's up, Usai? Good to see you. He said the hypocrisy is freaking real. We really not gonna want Operation Overdrive Black back for a banner, but manslaughter is okay. So I'm telling you, and again, that's not on you, Sarab. That's not on you because not everybody knows about Rick Medina, or maybe people forget or think that maybe he's out of jail and that's kind of past. But I trust me, I have heard even outside of Sarab, I have heard other people want Rick Medina back. But I'm like, guys, we don't even want people don't even want Operation Overdrive Black back. who's come out and apologized, not even apologized, but has set the record straight for some people, and some people still want to hold on to that. You know what I mean? So yeah, no more talking about Rick Medina. He doesn't really deserve that time on this channel, honestly. So let's see here. S. Karoma, what's up? Good to see you, S. Karoma. I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute. Netflix Power Rangers on future projects. Hopefully. Hopefully. I hope so. I know Netflix has more stuff that they're doing with Godzilla, which I think is freaking awesome. Netflix did an animated Godzilla, like a trilogy that was super successful, and now they're doing an anime series, I believe, for Godzilla on Netflix too. So Netflix is knocking out some great animation work, guys. They really are. I've heard Johnny even reference the idea, like, that he would love the idea of like Rise of TMNT type of art style. Like, I think you know what? Speaking of live, I think I had a live viewer question. Man, I'm so glad I remembered this. Johnny, because Johnny did have 3 questions. He says, whew, look at that. Almost forgot this question, Johnny. I'm so glad I looked on my Facebook page. He says, how do you feel about the original MMPR comic run ending? And what are you looking forward to for the new Mighty Morphin Power Ranger and new Power Ranger comic book series? Well, from the new Power Ranger comic book series, I'm really looking to see an introduction to other Ranger teams. I would really like to see how they introduce other teams or other dimensions or other characters. I feel like, because Power Rangers, I feel like they're going to be, I don't want to say like a Star Trek where they embark on these different space adventures, but a part of me is thinking maybe that's what's going to happen with the Omega Rangers. They do have their ship. They mostly are cosmic, if you will, deal with a lot of space entities. So, like, for me, it would be really cool to see them travel further out in space, maybe bump into some familiar faces, maybe from other Rangers, other cast members. I think that would be cool. So that's something I'm really expecting from the Omega Ranger side of things from Power Rangers, is for them to expand the lore even more. You say, how do you feel about the original MMPR comic run ending? It was great while I was on board. I am a little bit bummed that I came in later than I certainly wanted to. The Grace Sterling storyline of her Power Ranger team from the 60s was my first introduction jumping on board. So I did miss like the first Lord Draken series storyline and some other storyline elements. So for me, I part of me does hate myself for not having gone back and caught up. So I will miss the series, though. I mean, it was a great series. Under I don't want to say if it was definitely. I feel like definitely underappreciated. I felt like if more people got into the comic books, I think they might have a definitely a bigger appreciation, not only for the comic books but for Power Ranger lore and storytelling in general. But I will miss it. I will miss it, Johnny. You also ask, what was your favorite moment from the new episode Making Bad? My favorite moment probably would have to be, sorry, my allergies are acting up today. Like, my nose is running. I'm like sniffling. Um, Probably the return of Goldar is probably my favorite. Um, Again, I love his drop kick to Sledge. Like, man, get this weak out of here. This Neo Saban era villains. Psh, you know nothing about this. OG Goldar drop kick. So yeah, man, that was probably my favorite scene of returning Goldar. If Power Rangers gets animated, what style would you want to see it in, 2D or 3D? Personally, for me, it would be 2D. What do you think? Because yeah, he's a really big fan of the Rise of TMNT artwork style. The clip that you sent me is super dynamic in regards to 2D. So if they are going to do it in 2D, I would like it to be kinetic and a ton of energy when it comes to the fighting. At least like the action stuff that I saw in there was great, so I do like that element if they kept it 2D. But I wouldn't be opposed to 3D. I wouldn't be opposed to 3D. It doesn't have to be like top of the line CGI type 3D elements. No, not by any stretch of imagination. But Like I wouldn't mind there to be certainly some cartoonish elements to it, not too over the top, but I would like to see some full-fledged characters and some if they were to do action, maybe the action is very much more animated and kinetic than uh the regular civilian talking, you know what I'm saying, or rangers talking or communicating type of thing. I'm okay with anything. Like I've seen some really great types of technology, 2D and 3D on Netflix and other streaming services. So when I think of animation, as long as it's not Powerpuff Girls like animation, you know, like kitty animation, if you will. Um, if they heighten it a little bit more, I'm perfectly okay with that. So 2D or 3D is okay, as long as the storyline is there, is all I really care about. But other than that, I think that's probably gonna do it for us here. Um, Bacon and Sushi says, I guess Goldar and Scorpina finally had a kid together equals Goldar Maximus. They had a kid in the original Super Sentai 90s series. Hey, that's a great combination, man. Yeah, with that souped up suit that Goldar has, he definitely does look like he's rocking some Scorpina costume also to a certain extent. So yeah, I like that. Mike Knight Hero says, like Power Rangers and Ultraman, get comic books. It'd be really cool to go back and explore the worlds of VR Troopers, Beetleborgs, and bring Masked Rider, aka Common Rider, to the pages. Yeah, VR Troopers would be really cool for them to. I would be cool with a VR Troopers comic book. Marvel is doing one for Ultraman right now, written, I believe, by Kyle Higgins, the former writer for Power Rangers comic books also. So if you loved what Kyle Higgins did with Power Rangers originally, check out his Marvel comic in Ultraman. You might be impressed. But yeah, Mike Knight, I wouldn't mind seeing other of those come back also. Maybe Common Rider and VR Troopers would probably be my first two suggestions. And then Shadow Nova says, Adam, have you heard about the canceled animated Power Rangers movie called Origins? I have heard about it, but I don't know the details too much, but I have heard about it before. So maybe I'll go ahead and do some research in regards to that this weekend, Shadow Nova. So thank you very much for that suggestion. But I have heard of some canceled, and I have heard of that canceled animated. Maybe I was thinking of the canceled animated series. I can't remember what YouTuber did a video on that. If it was SD or Deoxy 360, I can't remember. Somebody did an animated Power Ranger video. I'll have to go back, but yes, that does sound super familiar. I don't know, but I just don't know the details fully. So I'll definitely have to do some research in regards to that. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it. That is going to wrap it up for us here today at APlus Morphinominal. So as always, guys, thank you so much for certainly joining us. Again, real quick, if you guys want to submit your questions over to be answered live on air at any time, go ahead and submit them over to our email address, aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. Again, aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. Feel free to go ahead and submit your questions throughout the entire week so that they could be answered at the end of a live episode of APlus Morphinominal every Saturday at noon Central Time, ladies and gentlemen. So other than that, that's going to go ahead and do it for us. So guys, do me a big favor. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, guys, along with that bell notification so that when we do drop brand new videos, you will certainly be noticed. If you want to follow us also on social media, you can do so right here at APlus Opinions. We're going to be on our main hub page on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch as well for you gamers also. And of course, guys, we've got some brand new content that's coming out for you guys this week. Later on this week on Tuesday, you can certainly expect a brand new Go Buster reaction video, Kara Major review, along with Common Rider, Saber as well. All that good stuff. And of course, we'll be back for you guys next weekend as well. So until then, do me a big favor, guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+, and may the power protect you. Talk to you guys later. Bye.